Welcome to the Wedding Video Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Santiago. I've missed you so much. It's episode 6, and we're talking about the most commonly used lenses for wedding videography. We're also going to talk about the best versions, like the brands that sell it, and I'll reveal the lenses that I love to use. So before the music comes in, here's a quote to put things into perspective. I see everything through a spiritual lens. That's from Katy Perry. Wait, that's not right. Wait. No, there. Different eyes see different things. That's from the song Different Strings by the greatest band of all time, Rush. I don't want you to wait any longer, so let's talk about the lenses for wedding videography in a segment I'd like to call Let's Talk About Lens, Baby. Let's talk about lens, baby. Your lenses are the eyes of the audience, and different kinds of lenses will show the viewer different things. There are different types of lenses. The ultra-wide-angle lens, which is the 8mm to 24mm. The wide-angle lens, which is 24mm to 35mm. Standard lens, which is 35 to 50mm. Telephoto lenses, which are 85mm to 300 and up, or like 10,000 or something. I'm just kidding. Prime lenses have a fixed focal length, and a zoom lens can go in and out to provide a wider range of focal lengths. Prime lenses have better optics than zooms. They usually have a wider aperture, which gives them better low light performance. Although prime lenses can be cheaper, because it has less moving parts, zoom lenses offer more flexibility when you shoot. They say when you're a beginner, it's better to start with zoom lenses, and as your skill level progresses, you can move to prime lenses. These lenses will offer different looks because of the way it's made and the way the glass is positioned. So, when you film someone with a 50mm and you film the same subject with a 70 to 200mm, let's just say you'll get either a great review or an email that says, "Hey Paul, I was wondering if you have any shots other than the ones where 90% of my white face is in it. Thanks." So, just to be sure, you could YouTube focal length videos on how one subject looks through different lenses, just to save your butt. Actually, let me try to find one and post it in the show notes. So here are the most commonly used lenses and their corresponding situations. Number 1 is the 35mm f1.4. So this one, it mimics the way the human eye sees things. So this is the most used lens by wedding videographers. They use it for prep, for establishing shots of the pre-ceremony or pretty much any venue that you go to. And they use it for detail shots as well. Next is the 50mm f1.8. This is pretty much used for romantics or dancing. But since it's the Nifty-Fifty, some videographers use it for the entire day, which is crazy, but it makes the footage look so good. Next is the 85mm f1.4. This is pretty much used for prep, detail shots, and dancing as well. Next one is the 70 to 200mm f2.8. This is pretty much used for the back camera and the toasts. Last one is the 100mm f2.8. This is a macro lens, so it's pretty much all the macro shots if you want ring shots or all of the details of the bride or someone writing something on paper. This is going to be money. Actually, after researching, I just realized that the way I film weddings is totally different from the norm. I'm not bragging or anything, but I kind of feel relieved because now I know that I could actually share something useful. So before I reveal to you how I shoot things, here's a quote from David Bailey. He said, "You have to kind of be invisible, so you use a longer lens." Okay, so I film using zoom lenses more than primes. The main reason is that I don't want to be in the way of a moment when it happens. And reason number 2 is with a zoom lens, I can easily adjust my lens in a split second to grab a particular moment. So for example, right after the bride gets dressed, the dad starts walking in and it's his first time seeing his baby in the dress. I have to be able to adjust to it and make like a wide shot or a zoom in shot to see the reaction. So it's easier for me if I'm using a zoom lens as opposed to a 35 or a 50 millimeter. Well, there's another reason, which is number 3, which was originally number 1, which is so that I could adjust if the photographer gets in the way. Because there are photographers before that while I'm shooting, I'm getting this really good shot. She just walks in front of me and stands there and takes the shot. And then turns around after 3 minutes and like, oh, I'm so sorry. I totally forgot you're there. Yeah. Now, I communicate better with photographers. But just like what I said, there's still a lot of photographers out there who have no idea what lens to use for a particular situation or have no clue that there's a videographer filming with them. And I'm pretty sure they're saying the same thing about us videographers. So play nice. And be ready for each other and anticipate what lens they're using. So to give you a perfect example, one particular situation that stands out in my head is when my lead guy, Jean, was in a shoot and the ceremony was about to start. And he usually looks at the lenses that the photographers use during the ceremony. So for this wedding, he saw that the cameras had prime lenses on it, meaning like a 35 or a 50 or a 135. And he was like, no, bitch. So he walked over to them and asked nicely, quote unquote, inquired about what lenses they'll be using for the ceremony. So once he confirmed that they're using the prime lenses, he gathers the guys, creates a plan to make sure that they adjust to the photography team. To those of you who don't understand what's going on, he's pretty much anticipating that since the photographers can't zoom in and out, they'll be standing in the aisle 2 rows from the front and setting up camp there. True enough, 2 rows from the front, they take the photo, click, click, stays there standing, reviews their photo. You could pretty much like visualize what I'm describing, right? Just looking at the photo, reviewing it for a minute, and then just goes back into taking photos, not moving, standing there. See, that's why we have zoom lenses. And now that I've shared with you why we use the zoom lenses, here's what I use. Okay, honestly, it's not all zoom lenses. So, number 1 is the Canon 50mm f1.2. f1.2 is money and it's gold when it comes to video. But I only whip this thing out just if it's a good day. If the photographers are amazing and the bride's amazing and all the vendors are great, I whip this out. But it's not every day. So I usually use it for romantics and dancing. That's it. Next one is the Canon 24 to 70mm f2.8 version 2. This lens is so clear and sharp and amazing that I pretty much use it for the whole day. Starts with prep, establishing shot, bride details, bride hanging out with her bridesmaids, bride getting into her dress, and romantics. As soon as the bride hops into her dress, I change my lens to the Canon 70 to 200mm f2.8 version 2. Same sharpness, same clarity, but you could go closer without actually physically going close. So as soon as she puts on her dress, I get a shot of her hands, mom's face, her face, just putting on the details like the earrings and stuff. And it's amazing because I'm not interrupting anything. I'm just letting it happen without them noticing that I'm shooting. I also use this lens for ceremony, which is usually for when they're walking up the aisle or walking down the aisle. And then for reception, I pretty much use this thing the entire reception. So for grand entrance, toasts, first dance, parent dances. For details, I change back to the 24-70. Another zoom lens I use is the Canon 70 to 200mm version 2. I think it's a version 2. And I use that for the back camera for the ceremony because just in case we do Catholic ceremonies, or the photographer likes to hang out in the middle of the aisle. We make sure that we adjust accordingly, but we also communicate with the photographer. Next lens, not a zoom, but this is money for me because it's sharp and it's cheap, and it's the Tokina 100mm f2.8. So this is what I use for detail shots, especially the ring shot. So if you watch our videos, you're going to see the ring shots there. That's the lens I use. And last but not the least, Rokinon 85mm f1.4. The Rokinon is a manual lens, so it's a declick aperture. So when you adjust the aperture, there's not going to be any sound or stopping, which is perfect because it's sharp and it's cheap. So I use this for dancing, especially when there's low light. 1.4, bam, money shots. So I'll be having an affiliate list of all the lenses that I talked about in the notes section. So feel free to just browse and take a look at it. I'm also going to put the newer lenses that just came out that all these wedding photographers are getting crazy on. So there you go. I've listed down all the lenses that can help you tell your story better, but also save you time and money. Okay, things to note are: make sure that you know if the lens you're buying is manual or autofocus, because there's a bunch out there that's just manual. Also, make sure that it's the one for your camera sensor, meaning if your camera is cropped, make sure the lens that you get is cropped. If your camera is full frame, get the full frame on. I would advise to rent equipment first before you buy, so that you'll know if it's the right fit for you. Remember, the quality of your wedding film will depend on the lens that you use, but the way you tell your story is what counts. I hope this episode was helpful. Also, if you have any questions or suggestions, just feel free to reach out. I'm throwing all these information goldness for free, so I'd really appreciate it if you help me by subscribing, rating, or leaving a review. Thanks so much for those who already did. Thanks for listening. It means the world to me. Watch out for Monday Masterclass, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Wedding Video Boss podcast. Till then, play nice if you can't win. Be nice if you're good looking. Boss man, out.